Hi everybody, I'm Seamus.
I'm Josh.
I'm Ridsgar.
And I'm Chris.
And it's time to fight our way past more Cerberus dudes in a long series of corridors after a brief sequence of dialogue and exposition.
So Cerberus is here.
Okay, now people have already covered this in the comment, but I kind of want to reiterate. What we have here is Cerberus attacking the Solarian home. They just fly up and start dropping dudes off on the Solarian homeworld as if the Solarian homeworld had no defenses whatsoever. Then on top of that, I mean, how does Cerberus even know this is here? Like, the Solarians are experts at covert ops, and Cerberus can't run a hot dog stand without turning everybody in the neighborhood into husks. But somehow they know about this base, where it is, and are able to approach it. But even if we accept all of that, even if we accept they can get to this planet and they know that this thing is here, they still have no reason to attack this place, given in-game. Like, no good reason to sacrifice all these dudes and world material.
Fuck up the... They want to keep you from fixing the genophage, I guess.
Yeah, like, why would they mind... Why would they want to prevent this peace treaty thing? In the meantime, it just keeps their enemy, the Reapers,
oh jeez, a naked Bowser just murdered a bunch of people and then ran off.
Can I just say also that, like, this is why we're sick of Cerberus. This is why people hate Cerberus, because the writers never present an obstacle that Cerberus cannot, without explanation, overcome. Like, there's no force, there's no competence that Cerberus cannot equal. For example, the Solarians are...
Well, it's not that they're competent, it's that they're never displayed as competent, and yet they still manage to succeed despite being terrible at everything.
The Solarians are the masters of espionage and hiding things, and, you know, sort of keeping covert operations. And they're established as being that. Okay, that was pretty ridiculous. They're established as being that, and then Cerberus, with no explanation whatsoever, comes in and beats them at it, and we're expected just to accept Cerberus is good at everything, Cerberus can do this. It gets to the point where the default assumption is that there's nothing Cerberus can't do, so why haven't they won?
And why are they made entirely of rogue cells?
This is the first time, however, we've seen the Solarian homeworld, and aside from feeling kind of like the Epcot Contemporary Resort planet, it's a nice planet.
Sure.
I wish we would have been given more time to explore and look at it, other than having it be Combat Zone 37, fight Cerberus again. We visit their homeworld, and what we see is military base, because of course this game is just starved for that motif of, like, base.
Oh,
like, this is I still think if this had been written by the same people who wrote the first game, this would have been used as an opportunity to show us more of the Solarians, who they are, what their culture is like, and how their civilization works. And instead we go here and there's a friggin' base of dudes to shoot.
I contend that I'm going to contend in this Mass Effect spoiler warning that this game is as much about the characters as Alan Wake was trying to talk about horror movies or horror in general. And in that sense, think of what you could have done with this setup, where you sort of have to make this choice between, you know, a lot of what Morden is trying to do and maybe Rex. And you could have paired the two against each other and had to make choices that would make them, you know, hate or like you. And instead it's like, no, we're not going to do dialogue choices, we're not going to make, you know, serious character decisions. We're going to have Cerberus show up for absolutely no reason so you can blow some dudes up. And then a mech, and then leave.
Capable of anything.
Oh yeah, there's a mech.
Cerberus isn't fooling around. They're capable of anything. Yeah! Apparently they are.
Is there an easier way around?
Like having an army inexplicably. Was that a...
Solarian tactics.
Why are you standing out? Oh, okay, don't shoot at him. That's cool. Don't... That guy's just gonna, like, put down a turret. Don't shoot at that either. That's cool.
Sentry going up.
Really, he stands here for this entire time. No, I realize.
Guys, where did Kirihi go?
He turned into Morden.
I also like how apparently they can't animate cover, so they so the cutscene just shows the Solarian wandering out into the open in the hallway and lazily taking pot shots at the dudes.
It's an ancient Solarian secret. That's how he got away.
Don't worry about me. That's okay.
Me, yeah.
I really wasn't. I really wasn't. What's your name?
This is what happens when I stop playing this game and start playing Guild Wars 2 for 2 weeks.
Were you trying to spam your elementalist powers at it?
Yeah, I was switching to Earth Attunement. I can pop
Ask
some
the turret if it wants to join your guild. Ask the turret if it wants to join your guild.
Is that 2 turrets you're dealing with here? Is that the problem?
It looked like it. I don't know.
WTV plot resolution.
Yep, that's double turrets all the way.
What does it mean?
Ah!
That's what I went there, Rutsgar.
Hi.
Putting that English degree to use.
What?
Phi is not a word that people use in English, except fancy people with hats.
That's because they don't have nearly as much style as I do. And sophistication.
I'll have you know my pantaloon-wearing great-great-grandfather used to say "Phi" all the time when he was in the Renaissance, because he was incredibly old, hundreds of years ago.
What chicanery is this? I'll have no more of your skullduggery, Camster.
See, and then
I
people
do love
accuse me of
chicanery.
using big words.
I love chicanery. That is a fun word.
These people should be more fun to play, but they're not really very fun to fight at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they decided to put some new, like, some more enemy variety in here. It's just... They're bullshit hard to kill.
I
Hayden's doing crossovers with everybody these days.
I don't have any complaints about Cerberus except that we just fight too much of them. I actually thought they were kind of fun, but this is coming on the heels of Mars. We just fought these clowns. Like the game's like, oh, the Reapers are a serious threat. Now fight back-to-back Cerberus mission.
Keep your grubby hands off that, Josh. It's DLC.
What the hell?
It's space rigor mortis. Let it go.
Is that its default?
That is
somebody in the default?
That's someone in the civilian stance.
No.
Okay.
They're just showing off the Cerberus suit. It's a DLC available for 689 Microsoft marks, which, you know, after the recent collapse of the Microsoft mark economy.
Can we talk about Leviathan, having not played it or playing it in spoiler warning?
It's good enough for movie Bob, so yes.
Ouch.
Yeah, we were just complaining about Film Crit Hulk and Movie Bob saying that the end of this game was okay, even though they hadn't played it and they were giving it a pass. And now we're gonna do that.
Film Crit Hulk had played it. He just arrived at wildly generic and weirdly generous conclusions about the entire franchise.
Ascribing it depth and meaning that you really don't see during the gameplay.
Well, he said the whole thing is about cycles, and ultimately
right.
the Reaper, not Reaper thing is about cycles, but, like, that's such a broad, overly generic thematic content that you could argue anything is about cycles. I mean, like, off the top of my head, I don't know, Kill Bill. Kill Bill's about cycles. It's about death and rebirth with the bride getting married and having a daughter and then having to save the daughter, going from victim to hero, having death and rebirth in her own life where she quits and then comes back. It's about cycles, you know, it rhymes. And no, that's crap. That's not what Kill Bill's about. Kill Bill's a pulp piece.
Right.
It just happens to be the best pull piece that came out for like the 5-year span.
I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm not. My point is that Cycles is like
no,
Cycles is like saying it's about life, or it's about fatalism or something broad.
Right. Somebody looking at
art.
somebody looking at Serious Sam and going, "Oh, this is about the conflict between This is about conflict, about inner turmoil."
Well, that requires. Well, that's the other thing. That requires sort of a gameplay reading, and film critics doing readings of video games tend to be narrative-based and dismiss the combat, because really, ludically,
well,
Mass
not
Effect
just
does
the
not
combat, the gameplay.
Exactly. The Mass Effect does not promote cycles ludically. It talks about linear progression. You get stronger, and then you get stronger, and then you get stronger.
Well, I suppose you can make the argument that every game, when all your stuff gets reset, then I guess it's cycle.
I think you can make the argument that we keep fighting Cerberus over and over and over again.
That's not a cycle. That's a continuous thing that is always happening.
Yeah, that's poignant commentary on mediocrity.
I mean, you could maybe say that because the second half of this trilogy tends to ignore player choice in ways we'll get into later this week, you could maybe argue that the gameplay is actually kind of about fatalism in a real serious way. I mean, there's no way to avoid 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 fates in this game for both individual characters and the world as a whole. And that's not what the narrative's about at all.
Yeah.
You could even say that one of the main problems of the ending is where the illusion of player choice and the reality of fatalism crash into each other, and the whole thing flies apart because it can't support those two opposed.
Why is it that this female Krogan has to be in this containment pod the whole time? What the fuck?
Yeah, why does she I mean, they make her this delicate flower that needs to be in an elevator, but we'll see in a minute that she's fine. She can walk. She can shoot a shotgun.
Hang on. Why did they do that?
I don't...
It doesn't have any shock absorbers or anything. I don't know.
For that matter, they're here to kill the Krogan. She's just like up there. Why don't you just shoot her?
I want to see that scene again, but like where this mech just pointlessly plummets under the ground, like starts to get up, but like one of its legs shorts out and falls over, and you see that like the airbag is deployed in the cockpit, the pilot is slumped over with a broken jaw. Why did we do that again?
Why did we just fly lower, since this planet has no air defense?
There's probably no time.
Yes!
And I'm trying to use Guild Wars 2 dodging mechanics instead of the ones in this game.
So can you just buy these? Are these like sold in bulk somewhere?
What, Black Lion keys?
I think they're Cerberus original.
Yeah, on top of having manufacturing on top of everything else they're doing with invading entire worlds and running all these bases, they apparently have manufacturing plants where they make custom gear for themselves, and the game does hand-wave it by saying, "Oh, Cerberus," which doesn't explain whether they get the material or the space for it or how they hide their supply lines. I mean, nobody talks about cut the Cerberus supply lines, which everybody else has supply line problems in this game world. Everybody else has to get stuff to make stuff, but not Cerberus. They've just got this magical factory of stuff.
When you run the numbers, you figure out that Cerberus must have access to like full access to the bulk resources of several planets in a gubernatorial sense. Like, they must actually run a couple planets, at which point they become a government. Not a terrorist group, they become a government.
A government run by dumb people.
I don't really have much to say about Cerberus that I haven't already said 1,000 times. I still say that Mass Effect 2, it should have been the Shadow Broker, because the Shadow Broker actually had build-up in Mass Effect 1 as, you know, someone with a lot of resources that knows everything. that could potentially be an interesting adversary slash ally sometime.
Wow.
That was an on-screen,
I think
on-screen hint.
You know, of course, Cerberus got indoctrinated regardless of whether you gave them the base or not, because why not? Because fucking we have to fight Cerberus all of a sudden.
So,
And 'cause they
sexual
can't
dimorphism is apparently something
do
relegated
anything.
primarily to humans.
I can handle myself, Rex.
Yeah.
Women.
I know, right?
I can handle myself, Rex. It does kind of call into
Well, then-
question why we had her like transported up here with a stasis pod elevator.
But
Yeah. Well, why did
that's-
you make us do all that, lady?
What do you want?
That's the anthropocentrism rearing its head again when you have like Krogan going like women, and it's like, dude, you don't. That's a people term. Women means female people. You know?
Yeah, you're not people.
Well, I mean, well, they even use the word people. What does that mean in sort of a post-humanist society to use the word people? Did the word people change? Does it encompass any, sentient, sapient beings, or is it just like as we consider people now? The game never addresses that.
Right. Totally true. I was dealing with this. I apologize now for bringing up my novel. I'm writing a novel now. I ran into this very problem, and I decided, wait, how would the word people be used? That is like a thing that you got to think about when you write this. Is like when people say people, are they talking about just human beings?
And you can cut it either way. You just have to explain it. Like, did the word evolve, like language evolves, or did it just sort of say, when I say people, I mean people like us, and it's like a racial term? You could do all sorts of interesting things with it, and instead they just have a Krogan going, women.
Yeah, doing a very male, like, apparently they have the battle of the sexes too
No, sir.
on their home world, and it works just like ours, where when he says women, you know exactly what he means.
Boom.
Well, like, it works like ours in contemporary 20th century developed country.
And not like we did in the past, or like we do here in the Mass Effect future, where women can just stand toe-to-toe with men and behave basically the same.
How can you know exactly how to build this and be able to build it, but still have no idea what it does?
Isn't that,
Like, not even a
really
fucking
impossible?
clue.
It's an
It's like, oh, what is this big gun thing? I don't know. Maybe it's like a popcorn maker.
An Interocitor! That would be great if Exeter popped up at the end of the game and you're like, how do we beat him? And he's like, I don't know. Well, you called me.
You successfully completed your task, Mr. Shepard.
Have the female.
It is a Reaper-sized catheter.
Come later. That wasn't the deal. But Palaven needs your reinforcements.
Oh, and this is where we start seeing this problem rear its head. This game, BioWare does okay writing between characters, and we'll see some nice snipping back and forth between Rex and Garrus and Rex and Mordin, but so much boring exposition in such long, boring conversations.
Looking at it.
Acceptable. We'll need you to remain.
That is, I mean, that's gonna be a problem, though. I even wondered how they were gonna solve this. You've got 2 games of baggage to deal with. It's like, how do
Yeah,
you
part
get
of the
through
problem
without unloading
is-
on the player?
What should have happened in Mass Effect 2, how do we deal with the Reapers, didn't happen in Mass Effect 2, so now it has to be in this game too. You could go straight from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 3 and miss nothing except who the fuck is the elusive man.
Rex, I hope you realize Turians
Martin
are
Sheen.
dying.
But
Which
that's
is
besides
probably
the
for
point.
the best. It's probably for the best, because then you won't be quite as pissed at him.
This is how it feels.
We'll be in medbay if you need to speak. Eve requires more tests.
How does it feel?
Eve?
Female's real name.
To be on your own!
Appropriate under-
Boo! No, you don't
Suggest
know.
speaking with
That's
her.
no.
New perspective. Surprising.
What just happened?
It's
And
called comedy.
Now, is there anything else?
There's a small
Also,
matter
we just need to fill
concerning
time because this is exposition. So much exposition. Long, boring. You're not making meaningful choices. You're not punching reporters in the face. You're not making meaningful dialogue choices. This is explaining the situation of, hey, this is the genophage. We should maybe fix this. That's what Morden's fixing, and Rex is mad about it.
somewhere else.
I'll find you both in the war room. Just be ready.
And now we're setting up exposition for the next mission.
Missions, actually. You don't even need to do these side missions, though, I don't think.
You need to do
That's
some
it. That's
of them. Well, ignore me.
Yeah,
We're
shut up, Chris.